Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Given today's events that are taking place within the last 48 hours in Serbia, inside of northern Kosovo, I thought it prudent to have a little discussion about these ongoing events and try to give you, the viewer, another perspective into kind of what we're watching and why we're watching, and hopefully as you read mainstream media, hopefully this spurs you to dive deeper into what's happening and maybe learn a bit more and understand maybe it is not a black and white issue, just the same as the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine is not a black and white issue. So I was reading an article here, and I'm not going to say the article's name, but obviously you can find it, and I'll read it to you here real quick. And it starts out, the title is "A War Appears Imminent Between Serbia and Kosovo." As if there wasn't enough to worry about in the world already, it looks like Serbia is about to provoke a war with its breakaway region of Kosovo. As you likely recall, mostly Muslim Kosovo broke away from Serbia back in the 1990s, starting a war with Serbia which ended with a NATO intervention. Serbia was not part of NATO. Serbia did nothing to NATO. There was no aggressive activity by Serbia against any NATO member state. So just please understand that. Starting a war with Serbia, which ended with NATO intervention that ended Serbia's aggression. Serbia's aggression. Okay. And established Kosovo as an independent republic. Well, let's dive a little deeper. Let's try to clarify things a little bit and just give another version of events. Well, Kosovo had been part of Serbia just as the eastern separatist regions were allegedly belonged to Ukraine as well. And inside of Kosovo, we had seen significant migrations due to wars taking place in the south of Kosovo. So we saw this migration of Albanian Muslims into Kosovo. And these Albanian Muslims had and do have some of the highest birth rates in all of Europe. And these Albanian Muslims, who once were a minority, again, migrated, legal, illegal, you be the judge, into Kosovo to eventually where they outnumbered the existing Serbs in Kosovo. And through third-party intervention, yes, third-party intervention, there were individuals, groups, organizations, NGOs, governments assisting the Albanian Kosovo people to attempt to break away from Serbia. And this is now in the modern times. So again, Serbia attacked no one. Serbia was attempting to legally hold on, but through the Serbian point of view, was to legally hold on to the region of Kosovo, which was rightfully part of Serbia. It was internationally recognized as part of Serbia. And through intervention of Albania and some other Muslim countries in the Middle East, we eventually saw the upstart of a civil conflict and a armed insurgency take place in Kosovo against the central government located in Belgrade, Serbia, formerly Yugoslavia. Diversity. Let's celebrate diversity because it always ends just perfect, right? Well, I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, so here we are today, and we have Renew fighting the semi-autonomous NATO-supported Kosovo government, led by the Albanian Muslims in Kosovo, are now attempting to enact certain entry-exit requirements for Serbs living in northern Kosovo. So, I'm just, everyone has a moral compass, and I try to be as unbiased as possible. But I think this is a classic example of NATO the pot calling the kettle black. And clearly you have a intervention in which really NATO had no right to intervene inside of Kosovo. That is my opinion, and that is also the opinion of many other folks as well. Now, obviously, some folks see that they perceived some sort of genocide was occurring inside of Kosovo, which required the intervention of NATO forces. So here we are today, and yep, we are seeing fighting starting to take place between the two communities. Obviously, the Serbs that live in the northern part of Kosovo, and they are obviously backed by the Serbian government in Serbia proper. So again, here we are, and what will happen next, difficult to say. I say that in terms of ongoing tensions in the world, it absolutely doesn't help anything. Obviously, you have very high tensions with NATO and the Russian Federation, and now heightened tensions with China. I'll have to do another video on that as well. But again, as you read these headlines, I would say, take a step back and look at the whole story. Look at what occurred in the 1990s and the breakup of Yugoslavia. And then, more importantly, again, Kosovo was not one of these republics such as Croatia or Slovenia or Montenegro. It was part, and has always been part, of Serbia. And because we have seen the population rise of these Albanian Muslims who were seeking support from Albania and other groups as well. Again, as I just talked about, we're now kind of in the predicament that we are in. But in terms of NATO, and I think that is part of Russia's concern as they see NATO expanding further and further east. They look at examples, meaning they, the Russians, look at these sorts of examples where NATO declares that it is not an aggressive entity. It does not take action in defense of non-NATO states. Well, clearly it intervened inside of Serbia, and it took military action against the Serbian government because it believed that what was happening in southern Serbia, aka Kosovo, was not right, and it took a moral stand and directly intervened. And again, that is against the NATO Charter. That is not what NATO was founded on. It was not supposed to be an alliance that would pick and choose external conflicts to intervene in, but it did. And then, as did NATO intervene in Libya as well. Libya did not attack anybody. Libya, an independent nation state, was it led by a tyrannical dictator? Yes, it absolutely was. No love lost for Gaddafi. But at the same time, if the NATO alliance is going to attack Libya, if it is going to attack Serbia, why does it not attack Eritrea for invading the Tigray region? Again, pot calling the kettle black. Why doesn't the NATO alliance, attack North Korea? I mean, obviously it's a tyrannical dictatorship. Well, is it because they have nuclear weapons? Maybe. But here we go. Again, kind of within that sphere of NATO influence where we are now probably going to see, well, not probably, we could see this heat up and become much more of a significant issue on the world stage if things continue to deteriorate inside of Kosovo. So I just wanted to point that out, bring attention to it, and hopefully you, the viewer, if you are not aware of what is happening, will dive a little deeper and try to gain an understanding without simply listening to mainstream media and taking it for what it is worth, because it's not worth very much. Good day.